The Arduino board is a two-processor design that uses two chips from Atmel, an ATmega 16U2 and a 328P. This is the 16U2 shown here, and it's essentially a USB to serial port converter. So when you install it, it's got a limited USB program on it, one that will be recognized as a USB device, but it's not actually programmed to do anything. In order to make this operate correctly with the Arduino software, we need to download a USB to COM port converter, and then the 16U2 is a programmer that programs the second chip, the 328P. This is the 328P, and when you write your Arduino program, this is the chip that gets the actual Arduino program. What happens is that the 16U2 gives it a reset. When it comes out of reset, if there's data coming in on the RxD line, it will communicate with the 16U2 and it'll download and it'll accept the new program from the 16U2. This kind of a program is called a bootstrap program or a bootstrap loader, and its sole job is to be a core program that can't be erased so that you can put in new programs. Whenever you do a firmware update on a small device, you're dealing with the bootstrap loader program that's built into the device. All of these processors have a hardware backdoor built into them so that you can download and program in that initial bootstrap loader. And that's through this in-circuit serial programming header here, which is a 6-pin header, and it has power and ground and then a couple of serial port pins to download a code. And those go into the microprocessor pins here, and if we take a look at those, there's a serial clock line, so that's how the data is clocked in, and then there's the SPI port, which is a master in slave out and a master out slave in. So it resets the processor and then downloads a new code into it through this hardware port, and then you can use that port for other things when you go up and run code. On our Arduino board, there's two in-circuit serial programming headers. There's this one over here, and this is for the 328P, and then there's another one over here. This one here, you can see the lines from it run over to the 16U2. And this is pin 1, the square pin. So when you attach your programmer, you have to make sure pin 1 is aligned correctly. Otherwise, you might reverse voltage these things, which could damage your board. But other than that, it's a pretty straightforward process. I've got a connector with some spring-loaded pins, so we don't have to put in these connectors. Now, I've written up some instructions on programming an Arduino for the first time, and I'd like you to look over those before you bring up your board. So it covers what kind of tool I'm using and how the connections are made, and then the software that we're going to be using to download code. And then it also covers what it's going to look like when the 16U2 is programmed and how it's going to come up in your device manager. And then finally, we're going to show you how we download the bootloader program into the 328P using the Arduino software. So please look at that and have an idea what you're doing before we program your chips.